Welcome to Best Fairy Tales. Before this story begins, stop for a moment, get comfortable, and allow yourself to enter the world of imagination. Tonight, we bring you a warm and educational fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm, a story about those who were written off by the world, but who found strength in friendship, togetherness, and hope. This is a story about new beginnings, about how even when everything seems lost, life can surprise with beauty. Listen to it with your heart, because sometimes the quietest stories leave the deepest mark. If you like fairy tales that calm, inspire, and remind us of what is really important, subscribe to the Best Fairy Tales channel and be a part of this small world of stories. A new fairy tale awaits you in the next video. And now, let's begin. Here was a man who owned a donkey, which had carried his sacks to the mill industriously for many years, but whose strength had come to an end so that the poor beast grew more and more unfit for work. The master determined to stop his food, but the donkey, discovering that there was no good intended to him, ran away and took the road to Bremen. There, thought he, I can turn town musician. When he had gone a little way, he found a hound lying on the road and panting, like one who was tired with running. "Hello! What are you panting so for, worthy? Seize 'em!" asked the donkey. "Oh," said the dog, "just because I am old and get weaker every day and cannot go out hunting, my master wanted to kill me, so I have taken leave of him. But how shall I gain my living now?" "I'll tell you what," said the donkey. "I'm going to Bremen to be town musician. Come with me and take to music too. I will play the lute, and you shall beat the drum." The dog liked the idea, and they traveled on. It was not long before they saw a cat sitting by the road, making a face like 3 rainy days. "Now then, what has gone wrong with you old whiskers?" said the donkey. "Who can be merry when his neck is in danger?" answered the cat. "Because I am advanced in years, and my teeth are blunt, and I like sitting before the fire and purring better than chasing the mice about. My mistress wanted to drown me. I have managed to escape, but good advice is scarce. Tell me where I shall go to?" "Come with us too to Bremen. You understand serenading. You also can become a town musician." The cat thought it a capital idea and went with them. Soon after, the 3 runaways came to a farmyard, and there sat a cock on the gate, crowing with might and main. "You crow loud enough to deafen one," said the donkey. "What is the matter with you?" "I prophesied fair weather," said the cock, "because it is our good mistress's washing day, and she wants to dry the clothes. But because tomorrow is Sunday and company is coming, the mistress has no pity on me and has told the cook to put me into the soup tomorrow, and I must have my head cut off tonight. So now I am crowing with all my might as long as I can." "Oh, you old redhead," said the donkey. "You had better come with us. We are going to Bremen, where you will certainly find something better than having your head cut off. You have a good voice, and if we all make music together, it will be something striking." The cock liked the proposal, and they went on, all 4 together. But Bremen was too far to reach in a day, and when dusk fell like a heavy purple curtain, they found themselves at the edge of the whispering forest, where the treetops formed a tunnel almost impenetrable to the moonlight. They decided to spend the night under the starry sky, but there was an uneasy silence, broken only by the crackling of branches in the darkness. The donkey and the dog were lying under a large hollow oak, whose roots came out of the ground like snakes. The cat, ever cautious, jumped onto one of the thick, curved branches, while the rooster flew to the very top, where he felt safest, although he too felt a chill in the air. Before closing his eyes, the rooster, according to the old custom of his ancestors, looked to all 4 corners of the world, looking for a sign of danger or refuge. And then, in the east, through the thicket of trees, he saw a spot of light, flickering and mysterious. "Friends!" they called out, muffled. "I see a light, small but steady. There is a house not far away. There must be a human habitation. Then we must make our way towards her," said the donkey, heaving himself up from the hard ground. "The quarters here are too hard for my old back, and the cold seeps to the bones." "And yes," added the dog, his tongue hanging out with thirst, And a few bones with a bit of meat, or just a warm piece of bread, wouldn't hurt. They started towards the light, which, like a lure, grew stronger and stronger. The forest gradually thinned out, and they entered a more well-trodden path. The shimmer turned into a clear spot of light, then into golden streaks that outlined the windows of a large, ramshackle wooden house. Muffled bursts of laughter and the clinking of glasses came from it. "Well, this doesn't look like a humble forest cabin," muttered the cat, her pupils dilated in the darkness. Arriving at the edge of the thicket, they stood stunned. The house was brightly lit, with oil lamps hanging from under the eaves, and through the windows one could see shadows moving in a kind of wild dance. "Robbers!" whispered the dog, instinctively pushing against the donkey. "Look at them, drunk and loud! This is their den!" The donkey, being the largest and perhaps the least cautious, approached the wooden window carefully, avoiding the streaks of light, and peered in to confirm the horrors. "What do you see, Graybeard?" the rooster asked softly, perching on the donkey's chubby shoulder. "What do I see?" replied the donkey, his voice mixed with wonder and greed. "I see a table packed like a king's, roasted turkeys with loads of fruit, big barley cakes, bowls of stuffed fruit, and beside them jugs of sparkling beer and jugs of wine that shine like rubies. And around it all sit the bandits. There are 6 of them, and they celebrate like there's no tomorrow, warming their hands by a huge fire. That would suit us perfectly," said the cat, a smooth tongue brushing past her lips. "Yes, if only we were there," sighed the donkey, "instead of shivering with cold here in the dark." Then, in the shadow of that enemy's house, the 4 gather for urgent advice. Fear and hunger were their advisors. They were not warriors. But their common affliction gave birth to a cunning plan. "We must frighten them," said the dog, remembering the old hunting days. "We have to sound bigger and scarier than we are." After a quick discussion, they agreed on a daring venture. The donkey will be placed with its front hooves on a low windowsill. The dog will climb onto his strong, broad back. The cat, with the ease of its species, will succeed on the dog, accepting itself by its mane. And finally, the rooster will land at the very top of the pyramid, settling on the cat's head, where its red peak will flutter above scenes. When they were in place, a bizarre and almost comical silhouette was created against the light of the window, a monster with 4 heads and 8 legs. At the donkey's signal, the deep sigh that preceded the howl, everyone shouted at the top of their voices and with all the strength of their lungs. The donkey bellowed with its piercing, sobbing voice. The dog barked deep and thunderously. The cat let out a scream that sounded like the scream of a demon, and the rooster crowed at the top of his throat, sharp and piercing as a trumpet on the day of judgment. That horrible concert, incongruous and supernaturally loud, echoed in the silent night. Then, without giving the robbers time to collect themselves, they started with a joint rush. Their combined weight and momentum was enough to break the old, worn frame. With a great crash and clatter of broken glass, it burst through the window straight into the center of the room, like a storm coming from the street. Ashes from the hearth rose in a cloud, and the flames of the lamps fluttered. The robbers, drunk and unprepared, jumped to their feet. In the chaotic mix of shadows, noise, and flying glass, they saw not 4 terrified animals, but a single, multi-headed monster that had fallen from the sky. They groaned in terror, thinking they had awakened the spirits of the forest, or that the revenge of their victims had come upon them. Throwing down their knives and glasses, they flew over each other towards the main door and disappeared into the dark bowels of the forest, shouting until their footsteps were lost in the distance. But they could not reach the city of Bremen in one day, and they came in the evening to a wood, where they agreed to spend the night. The donkey and the dog laid themselves down under a great tree, but the cat and the cock went higher, the cock flying up to the topmost branch, where he was safest. Before he went to sleep, he looked round towards all the 4 points of the compass, and he thought he saw a spark shining in the distance. He called to his companions that there must be a house not far off, for he could see a light. The donkey said, "Then we must rise and go to it, for the lodgings here are very bad." And the dog said, "Yes, a few bones with a little flesh on them would do me good." So they took the road in the direction where the light was, and soon saw it shine brighter. And it got larger and larger, till they came to a brilliantly illumined robber's house. The donkey, being the biggest, got up at the window and looked in. "What do you see, Graybeard?" said the cock. "What do I see?" answered the donkey. "A table covered with beautiful food and drink, and robbers are sitting round it and enjoying themselves." "That would do nicely for us," said the cock. "Yes, indeed, if we were only there," replied the donkey. The animals then consulted together how they should manage to drive out the robbers, till at last they settled on a plan. Tie Donkey was to place himself with his forefeet on the windowsill, the dog to climb on the donkey's back, and the cat on the dog's. And, at last, the cock was to fly up and perch himself on the cat's head. When that was done, at a signal they began their music all together. The donkey brayed, the dog barked, the cat mewed, and the cock crowed. Then, with one great smash, they dashed through the window into the room, so that the glass clattered down. The robbers jumped up at this dreadful noise, thinking that nothing less than a ghost was coming in, and ran away into the wood in a great fright. The four companions then sat down at the table, quite content with what was left there, and ate as if they were expecting to fast for a month to come. When the four musicians had finished, they put out the light, and each one looked out for a suitable and comfortable sleeping place. The donkey lay down on the dunghill, the dog behind the door, the cat on the hearth near the warm ashes, and the cock set himself on the hen roost, and as they were all tired with their long journey, they soon went to sleep. Soon after midnight, as the robbers in the distance could see that no more lights were burning in the house, and as all seemed quiet, the captain said, "We ought not to have let ourselves be scared so easily," and sent one of them to examine the house. The messenger found everything quiet, went into the kitchen to light a candle, and thinking the cat's shining fiery eyes were live coals, he held a match to them to light it. But the cat did not understand the joke, flew in his face, spat at him, and scratched. He was dreadfully frightened, ran away, and was going out of the back door, when the dog, who was lying there, jumped up and bit him in the leg. As he ran through the yard, past the dunghill, the donkey gave him a good kick with his hind foot, and the cock, being awakened and made quite lively by the noise, called out from the hen roost, "Cock-a-doodle-doo!" The robber ran as hard as he could, back to the captain, and said, "Oh dear, in the house sits a horrid old witch, who blew at me and scratched my face with her long fingers, and by the door stands a man with a knife, who stabbed me in the leg. And in the yard lies a black monster, who hit me with a club, and up on the roof there sits the judge, who called out, 'Bring the rascal up here,' so I made the best of my way off." From that time the robbers never trusted themselves again in the house. But the four musicians liked it so well that they could not make up their minds to leave it, and spent there the remainder of their days, as the last person who told the story is ready to avouch for a fact. And so our four brave musicians found their home in peace, showing that courage, friendship, and a little ingenuity can overcome even the most formidable obstacles. If you enjoyed this adventure, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell so you don't miss new stories that spark the imagination. Like the video if you like this version of the fairy tale and share it with your friends. Who knows, maybe the next fairy tale will take you to an even more wonderful world full of laughter, courage, and music.